All right. Hi, everybody. It's Mike Rains here from the Mike Rains Real Estate Channel. We want to welcome you to the channel. Like this video and subscribe if you like the content on this, and feel free to be able to make a comment in the comment section below. Every day on this real estate channel, we try to bring you as much value as we can, information-wise, as a buyer, as a seller, as an owner, the valuable information that you can apply when buying or selling real estate. And so many of my clients want to know how do I protect myself? So that's what brought us to today's topic. We have a special guest with us. Her name is Victoria McDonald with Discount Wills and Trusts. And so we want to welcome Victoria. Welcome to the channel.
Hi, everyone. Nice to see you.
All right. Well, tell us a little bit about yourself, Victoria, and how you got into this business of helping people do trusts.
Okay, well, actually, I worked for quite some years at most of the attorney's offices and several different offices. Most of the offices in California are in Newport Beach area. I worked at Stradling Yaka, which was the second largest law firm in Orange County.
Wow.
And it was huge. So a lot of the attorneys, first of all, are very impersonal with their clients. They don't, they're very intimidating, kind of dictatorial about what they need to do.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of customers didn't feel comfortable with them.
Okay.
So, yeah, so I decided when I got married, actually, that I think I could do better by opening up my own company.
Okay.
Of course, I needed to get all the credentials, my licensing. I had to take extra schooling in order to be independent.
Okay.
And then I had to get the attorneys to actually agree that I was competent enough to do that.
Yeah.
So all those letters and everything are on file in the county. So anybody can always look them up, so they can always feel comfortable about using me. And I have to keep that updated all the time. I have to take CEU units to keep up to date on the law and everything. So
okay. And how long have you been in this business doing trusts?
Actually about 33 years.
Okay, so
on my own, not quite as many, about 20 years, but still a long time.
So suffice it to say, I think you have loads of experience and you know what you're talking about.
Yes,
Right?
yeah.
Well, on this channel, we try to educate from the ground up. So some of the listeners that might tune in may not even know what we're talking about. They just were curious. So tell us, what is a trust and why would someone need a trust?
Okay, so most of the time when people talk about the trust, they talk about a living trust.
Mm-hmm.
So a living trust is to avoid probate, which is our court system.
Okay.
So when a person passes away, if you don't have something in writing and it isn't all together, you can have just a will, but that would still have to go through court to be approved by the court.
Okay.
So a living trust is the most optimal way to go because it avoids the court altogether.
Okay.
And your heirs don't, there won't be fighting and all that kind of thing if you get it all down the way you want it to be, and are very pretty explicit about what your expectations are.
Okay, so is it fair to say that like a trust is kind of a written set of instructions and with authority from the courts already to be able to execute out that set of instructions?
Yes, they're actually documents that were prepared by a lot of the attorneys that I worked for already.
Okay.
So yes, that is, and then, but they're very customized to my clients too. So it's not like an online service where they fill in the blanks and could fill it in wrong, or worst case scenario, not know what their options are. Okay. So when I meet with somebody, that is what I think is the best, that they make the decisions because it's their assets. But they need to be informed about what decisions they need to make. Right.
So in my business in real estate, I often meet people when I go to sell their house and suddenly realize that they have not had the house into escrow. or into a trust rather. So at what point does someone really need to start considering having a trust? Is it, the minute that they buy a property? Is it when they inherit a bunch of money? Like, where's that defining line where someone says, you know what, I better get a trust in place?
Well, both in a sense. So, but really the most starting point is when they buy real estate. So when
Okay.
they buy a house, but it could be they could have sold the house and have a
Mhm.
lot of cash assets.
Okay.
So because the probate code is based on how many assets there are, dollar value wise.
Okay.
So in California right now, it's anything over $166,500. Don't ask me where they
Okay.
came up with that figure, but that's what it is. So if it's anything over that, then it has to go through probate.
I see. Okay.
So no
So,
properties are that
yeah.
value in
So
California.
what about, like, if I buy a house in say Orange County, it's for sure going to start at like, $7, $8, $900,000.
Right.
But I'm taking, like, if I'm a VA or veteran and I have 100% financing on that. So I really owe just the same thing that it's worth. So how does that affect, does that keep me out of probate?
No, because it's based on the gross estate size.
Ah,
So
okay.
it doesn't matter how much equity you have in a home. It is based on the fair market value of that asset
Okay.
plus any other assets all added up together. So
Okay.
yeah, it's
So
going to be way more. Yeah.
yeah. So, okay. So with that question in mind, so anything over, I think you said 122 and change,
Oh,
then that's automatically gonna,
166.
I'm sorry, 166,000.
Yeah, it's a
So
weird.
as soon as it goes over that, you're gonna have to get probated. And it's based on the gross value of the estate.
Right.
So all of the accounts, all of the equities, whatever that,
Yeah.
plus the house. So how much are probate fees? When you get into that position, you have to go through probate. What is someone looking at when it comes to those fees?
Okay, so there is an actual schedule under the probate code. People can actually look it up.
Okay.
But yeah, nowadays people are pretty savvy. They can go online. But basically, it can be as much as 10% of your estate.
Oh, wow.
So you don't want to be giving that away when it could go to your heirs.
Okay.
It goes nowhere. So it goes to the attorneys and the filing fees and everything.
Okay.
So instead, that can go to your kids, grandkids, stay in the family, basically.
Okay. And is that gross value of the assets that are in California? So, like, for example, I had a client that just they're keeping their property here, and we're gonna rent it out for them and manage it. But they went and moved to another state, and then they bought another house there. So is the California probate, if something happened to them, does that property in Texas get probated here in California, or is it separated out from that?
It gets probated wherever the person died, whoever trust it is.
Okay.
So if they are in California and they're a California resident, that is, I take that back, not where they died, where they were residing
Okay.
before they died.
All right.
So if they like live in California, they need to set up a California trust, and they would put all the assets wherever they are, whether they're in Texas, Arizona, Florida, New York, anywhere,
Okay.
into the California trust. And the good thing is it would avoid probate in those other states as well,
Okay.
because it is where the person resides. Now,
Okay.
in our laws, all 50 states obey a trust. But if
Okay.
you move out of state, let's say you set up your trust here in California and you move to Texas, for example, you should have somebody review it there, because their state probate code may be different than California, then it might need to be brought into
I see. Okay. Yeah, that was
law.
another question I had is, how is California different than other states? But you're saying if you had set up a trust in California and if you just happen to move out of California, that you should have it reviewed in that other state to make sure that it's gonna do the same
Applies with
effect.
their stuff. Yeah,
in there.
because
Okay.
all states have some little weird thing, but federally, um, for federal estate tax purposes, they are good in all 50 states.
Okay. Gotcha. Gotcha. And so from what I'm hearing you say, do you need an attorney to do this, or is that something that, well, obviously I know the answer, but for the audience, does it have to be an attorney that sets up a trust?
No, not here in California.
Okay.
Now, some states don't recognize other paraprofessionals to do things.
Okay.
So there are certain states that mandate only an attorney can do this particular type of law. I
Okay.
mean, I've even had a state tell me that I can't record a property into a California trust.
Okay.
But we did anyway. We got it through.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
it went through. So
Yeah. Gotcha.
since I've had so much experience, there's ways, and people connections and sometimes,
Right.
things like that. So that's
Right.
good.
Okay. So now there's more than one apple in the basket in a trust, right? So to speak. So a trust encompasses a few other things. So you've got your real estate and all your assets in there to avoid the probate. But what else is inside of a trust that people can take advantage of by having that trust?
Well, you're going to, first of all, it's not just on death, it's also on incapacity.
Okay.
So let's say,
So describe so what is that for someone that's listening that doesn't know what you mean by that?
right. So incapacity could be physical or mental. That
Okay.
means you can't handle your affairs anymore. Like you either can't sign,
Okay.
or for example, you can't physically get to the bank.
Right.
So your agent, that's what they would call it, your agent or your attorney, in fact,
Okay.
would have to do that for you.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't mean it's an attorney. I know people get that mixed
Right.
up. Your attorney, in fact, could be your spouse. It could be an adult child. It could be whoever you appoint, whoever
Okay.
you implicitly trust, because that's a lot of power to
Right.
give somebody a power of attorney. So they
Right.
have a lot of power over you. So you got to be real careful.
Okay. Is that
Yeah.
where somebody would like maybe appoint a fiduciary or somebody like that as somebody that could then, have that exterior licensed kind of accountability?
Yes, sometimes.
Okay.
Yeah. And always vet whoever you're doing, no matter what. I
Okay.
know a lot of times people say, "Oh, I want my CPA to do it." Well, how long have you known them?
Right.
You
Right.
really need to, like I said, implicitly trust them. Now, private fiduciaries are bonded and everything like that. So you're a
Okay.
little bit safer if you don't know them real well.
Yeah.
Because, yeah.
Okay. Well, so the basic point there is that, for someone that gets in, say, just for example, get in a horrible car accident, you become, semi dysfunctional, brain dead, incapacitated, but you're still alive. So you still need monies, you still need things to happen. So in a case like that, if you didn't have a trust, what would happen?
Well, then you'd have to go through even worse hearing, unfortunately, than probate. That would be like a conservatorship hearing.
Okay. So someone's appointed to make those by the court?
Right,
Ah.
exactly. And
So if you want to have
definitely what
control
you
over
don't want.
who's going to be able to make the right decisions the way you would want them, that's part of what you would have in a trust.
Right, yeah.
Okay.
So
All right. And for that matter too, I've heard you have a medical directive in there as well. Like, here's what my
Yes.
wishes are. Tell me about that.
Yeah, so your healthcare directive, a lot of people refer to it as that. You
Okay.
would pick again your agent. So if you're unconscious, even for example, like let's say you needed surgery or anything like that,
Mhm.
this person is there to be your advocate for you.
Okay.
So sometimes doctors, nurses get real busy.
Mhm.
So you would want somebody to be an advocate for you to make sure that you're being taken care of.
Right.
And it also has the end of life issues, like whether you would want life support if you were in a coma.
Right.
I'm sure everybody has heard about that.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know,
So it
so
seems like this is rather important, especially when you have small kids, right? So,
yeah,
what do you do with the kids? Who's going to take care of them? What happens if you're unable, like if you're in a coma,
yeah,
you're not able. So who's going to make those decisions?
Yeah, and that's another reason in the trust, not to interrupt you, but as far as I forgot to mention that. So property is one thing, getting your real estate in. But if you have minor kids, you definitely want to get a will or a trust set up,
Okay.
because who's going to be the guardian? Who's going to take care of
Right.
them if you cannot? That
Yeah.
would be a very serious issue.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. If you're on vacation and something happens to you and your spouse, then
right,
you've got little ones at home and you've got to be able to plan for that ahead of time. I know it's
right.
not fun topics for people to try to address, but it seems like it would be much smarter and better to do that stuff up front, in order to do that. So let me ask you this. So how many people would you suppose just aren't aware that having a trust is an option for them?
Yes. So most people, I think a lot of people have really heard about trust nowadays, and their neighbors tell them you got to get one done. Their banks tell them,
Yeah.
their financial advisors, their realtors.
Okay.
The problem is a lot of times they just don't want to sit down and think about it or talk about it.
Okay.
But it is really, really important. I mean, even when I sit down sometimes, like today, I had a client, I went out to talk to a husband and wife. And sometimes they don't even talk to each other about what each other wants.
Right.
So I bring up the issue of whether they would want life support if they were in a coma. And
Right.
the husband said, "Oh no, 2 days max, 3 days max." And she's all, "No, 2 weeks, at
Give it some
least."
time. Yeah.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
so
Well,
they
it's
never
definitely a
talked
way to
about
get
it.
them on the same page, isn't it?
Yes, it is. And just actually face it and
Right.
discuss it. So even if they get back to me later and change their mind, that's fine. Before I type it up,
Yeah.
that'd be good.
Yeah.
But they need to think about it,
Right.
because
Right. Yeah.
yeah.
So that's was kind of where my next question was going to go, is like, knowing what we've just discussed, and people kind of being somewhat aware of it if they weren't already, why would somebody object to getting a trust?
Well, the main objection always used to be is the
Okay.
cost factor. Okay. And the other one, of course, is maybe they would actually meet with an attorney and sit down with them,
Mm,
and for some reason they would get turned off,
mm,
and not finish it up. And
okay.
sometimes they even pay money and not finish it up, which is
Oh,
really weird to me.
yeah.
But they do.
Yeah.
And then I always find that when they meet me, they feel comfortable because I've done it so long, and we
Yeah.
sit down and discuss it like normal humans. I don't say you have to do it this way or
Right.
anything like that. So
Right.
some people have told me that they just didn't do it because they hadn't found anybody yet that they felt comfortable with.
I see. Yeah. Well, you're kind of like sharing your family, financials and
Right.
private stuff, and just the conversation about talking about death and stuff. People don't like that,
No, it's
right? But it's
uncomfortable.
such an important thing to
Yeah,
discuss ahead of time.
it
So
is.
why would somebody want to work with you over the other? What are some of the benefits, I should say, of working with Victoria?
Well, number one, there's a lot of ones, but first of all, I do travel to my clients to make it
Mm,
convenient for them.
okay.
They can come into my office, which is in beautiful Huntington Beach. So they like that.
Yeah.
Sometimes they come drive down and make a day of it.
Yeah.
So, but the other thing is, I help their heirs through it. So that's another thing. Attorneys will charge not only maybe $3,000-4,000 for a trust,
Mhm.
which is cost prohibitive, especially the way the economy is right now. But the other thing is that you know once it's done, the attorney will sit there, and their heirs, when they come to the attorney, will nickel and dime them to
Right.
death for phone calls and writing letters and this and
Right.
that. I don't do that because the way I feel about it, and one of the reasons actually you had hit on why I got into it, is because I saw them doing this. And I said, the people that are paying for the trust are paying for it to take care of their family. They
Yeah.
don't want their family to pay extra fees,
Right. Right.
so they can talk to me sometimes for hours.
Right.
and, get all their questions answered and everything. Of course, I don't take it over.
Right.
Their children or whoever they pick, their adult children will have to do it.
Right.
But a little bit of legwork, but with the some help and guidance, they can do it. It's not that hard.
Okay, well, not to put you on the spot, because I'm just going to timestamp this, as we're in August of 2022. So if you're watching this video 10 years from now, you can't hold her to these things. But I understand that you're on a flat fee. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay.
So
you want to share with us what it costs to set up a trust with you?
Yeah. So on average, like for a single person is $900.
Okay.
And for a married couple is $1,100.
Okay.
Because I have to do 2 documents of a lot of the documents. But the other thing is, if it's out of the county, out of Orange County, due to traveling nowadays, I have to build in a little bit of extra for that.
Okay.
But the other option is you can come and meet me in Orange County. Doesn't have to be at my office, but part way, and then I will charge you the Orange County price.
I see. Okay. Well, that makes a lot of sense. So you're talking about, $1,200 to $1,400 for a couple, 900, something like that. So, and that's less than half of what some other attorneys that you just mentioned, $3,000 to $4,000, and the service on that. So that's great. Well, I sure appreciate, explaining a little bit about the trust, what it is, why people need it. Seems like it's such an essential thing for someone to have. And I just want to make sure that our audience is kind of up to speed on why you need that. It's really, really important if you have a house, for sure, but having assets, but also inside that trust are so many more things that you need. And like it or not, you have to think about those things ahead of time. That can be all implemented inside of that trust of what you want to happen with the kids. What do you want to happen with if something were to happen if you were incapacitated? So I really appreciate you taking the time to do that. I always like to finish up the show with asking a couple of just off the cuff questions. You don't know about it. It's not scripted. So since COVID, a lot of people started getting out of the house and traveling again. What's been your favorite destination since, say for the last year that you've gone to?
Oh, for me, for our family, you mean, like personally?
Yeah.
Oh, well, we always love Hawaii, of course. I love to go to Hawaii. You can probably even see the picture behind me in my office of Hawaii.
Yeah.
So I love that. And my husband, we've gone, we love Hawaii.
Okay, that's fantastic. Yeah, we're doing a lot of staycations, but we're about to embark on a trip to the North Rim of the Grand Canyon. So,
wow,
kind of fun for us. All right, well, thanks everybody for tuning in to the Mike Raines Real Estate Channel. I'm Mike Raines, your host. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and like this video, and please make a comment down below. I'm going to put Victoria's information in the description so that you can be able to contact her if you have any additional questions on that. And I sure appreciate you tuning in today. Have a great day. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mike. All right.